Hey everyone, welcome to this week's class. This week we're working on a bunch of foot mobility drills to improve the range of motion in our feet and just kind of do a little self-assessment to see what kind of range of motion do we already have access to and what are the trajectories that we're looking to build. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Brentan. We have new free classes out every week, and this year we're doing a year-long program on how to move your body. So today, you guys, why don't we grab just a pair of socks from your closet, and that's how we'll get started. So pause the video, grab some socks. And when you come back, what we're gonna do, and you can do this in a chair as well, don't think you have to get on the floor. I'm just sitting here because we're filming. So take your socks under one sock underneath the bridge of your foot, underneath your toes. We're going to create some little makeshift toe spacers here. So learning that the toes can actually get some space in between them, stretching that skin out there, improving our brain's capacity to differentiate between our toes and what they're capable of. So I'm just gonna kind of loop under and pull a little chunk of fabric up in between my big toe and my second toe, and then I'm going all the way down the toe line. So spreading the toes apart and pushing some fabric up. Push as much fabric up in between the toes as possible. And should hold there, hopefully. If not, just a little bit of coercing when we get into what we're gonna do with this. Make sure you do both of your feet. Also, apparently there's like toe spacers that you can buy online, and you can actually wear them around your house. I think in some cases with some foot issues, this might be something that a physical therapist might recommend, but can also be good for us as we learn to mobilize our feet. So once you got your toe spacers on, go ahead, come into a standing position. We're gonna keep just one foot on the ground as we start to lift the opposite heel. We just go up and down a little bit like that. What we're looking to do is empower our foot's ability to do 90 degrees between the toes and the top of the foot. And then bonus points if, as the best you can, try not to disturb your pelvis. Try not to really disturb your torso too much as you're doing this. So what you're also doing is you're giving your standing leg a job to do, and its job is to be nice and sturdy, stable for you. And then switch your sides. Yep, I can already feel it right there, like my pelvis just wants to sass over to one side, as I have a really little loosey-goosey pelvis there. Alrighty, when this side feels about equal to that of the other, we can go ahead and remove our makeshift toe spacers. So however you want to do that, I'm going to take a forward fold, pull them on out. That feels nice. And join me again in a standing position. So let's take our feet now right underneath our hips. And let's also acknowledge that sometimes we have habits and patterns that make us rotate our feet out and rotate our feet in. And yes, for some of us, this can be a skeletal difference, as in our skeletons are built just a little bit crooked, and we kind of need to work with that and accept that in some degree, and just accept that our neutral is different than what somebody else would call neutral. But let's try to make our thigh bones neutral here. And our thigh bones are neutral when, for the most part, when we bend our knees, they point straight ahead. And then again, for most of us, the feet would be straight from that if the second toe lines up with the knee. So for most of us, the center line of the foot runs right through the second toe, and then that is aligned with the knee. In some cases, it may be aligned a little bit internal or external. So what we're looking to do is to find neutral. And once you think you have it for you today, come on up to a standing position. Root down with the heel of one foot, lift up the ball, and stretch it forward and down. And same thing on the other one, forward and down. Okay, so now our feet are prepped, and they're in a nice base of support for us so that we can start doing some stuff with our toes. So let's go ahead and lift all 10 toes away from the ground. And notice if, when they come up, do you start to weight more over to the right, over to the left in the foot, and then distribute your weight through the bony triangle? Through the bony triangle of the foot. Okay, and now we're gonna see if we can keep all of our toes lifted, except can we lengthen our big toes forward and down to the ground? And maybe the answer is, not right now, I can't. That's okay. We're building our brain's capacity to understand that this range of motion is possible. That's it. So let's go in and up. Lift the big toe, then lift all of the toes except lengthen your big toe forward and down to the ground. Let's just go in and out of this a few times. It may get more possible for you as you repeat. It might get less possible. You may even feel that you kind of get a little anxiety going in the body. That's totally natural, totally fine. Keep working. Now, the reason we're doing this is because in theory, the big toe should have a lot of independence. It should be able to do a lot of different things independently of the other toes. So the next time you lengthen your big toe down to the floor, keep it. Keep your other toes lifted. But now, stretch your pinky toes away and down. So now your outer toes are down and your 3 inner toes are lifted on both feet. All right, keep your big toes down this whole time. We're gonna lift the pinky, relax it in, stretch it away, and down. Keep going like that. And see if you can still distribute your weight evenly over the bony triangle of the foot. And especially notice like this pinky movement, is it starting to make the foot work differently? Like, is your outer foot lifting and lowering with your pinky? And see if you can give your pinky some independence so your foot is nice and stable. I know that's tough. Okay, when you're ready, come on out of this, shake it out. Maybe do a little top of the foot stretch. Work out through the ankle a little bit there. That should feel nice. Okay, yeah, like you can curl them under. You can stretch and curl them under. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and transition into a different place. So if you can, big toes together, slight space between the heels. If you can't, no big deal. This just gives your legs something to press into, and so it reminds them of what their job is. If your legs are farther apart, then just have everything keep tracking forward. Knees forward over your ankles, over your second toes, all that good stuff. So we're gonna go ahead and come on down and take a toe stand. And if the floor seems like a really far away from you situation, then lean over a countertop or an ottoman or something like that. And we're gonna go ahead and take the heels up over the balls of the feet and squat on down. So I'm just gonna kind of rock a little bit forward and backward here. So we're loading up the front of the foot. And I want to try to load up the front of my foot evenly left to right. And this is something fun when I started doing this research for this class and just kind of working with my feet a little bit for it, I noticed something I'd never noticed in 10 years of practicing yoga, which is when I have the heel lifted, like this is a high lunge position, for example, Chaturanga Dandasana, all of that kind of stuff, I don't weight my foot evenly, kind of on the inside or the outside of it, and it affects through the rest of the leg. So if you can, take the heels up over the ball mounts of the feet. And again, we know that in theory, 90 degrees is possible. So really getting that heel up. Really at the same time, nestling weight into the inner and outer ball of the foot evenly. And I'm still rocking here just because it feels like the right thing to do. Feel like your calves working, so do I. Your shins maybe. All right, here's where I'm going next. Tabletop. Tabletop, where I want to say, please take care of your knees. So put some cushion underneath your knees. You may also find you would want like a pillow, like a big pillow or something to put back here once we sit back. So you decide for yourself. I'm going to take my knees together. I'm going to tuck the toes under, and I'm just going to start loading the feet as I walk back. So you have a couple of options if you don't want to come all the way to this upright position, because we're going to hold this for about a minute maybe. You can stop somewhere along the way, like so, or you can take a pillow underneath your bottom and figure out how much support you need so that you can come up and you can feel okay there. Now, once I come up, I'm going to, again, see if I can distribute the effort of the foot evenly left to right. And you might see that this straightens out the relationship between the inner and outer ankle, between the inner and outer knee, so that the shin bones track evenly between the foot and the knee. And it's quite intense, so I'm breathing, trying to feel the rest of my body as kind of light and airy. Good job, you guys. Time to release. Come forward. Tops of the feet down and maybe pat them out a little bit. Try to be real soft through your face here. Soften your eyes and your vision. And now we're going to stretch the top of the foot and the ankle into developing some plantar flexion. So that's this. Toes untucked, they go back, and then we sit back. And we have all of our same options where we, decide not to load it up so much, or we take some support underneath our bottom. And now when the feet lay back here like this, again, am I weighting the top of the foot evenly left to right? In a lot of cases, the pinky side of the foot needs to open more. And so can I feel, and it's behind me, so I can even go back there with my fingers, where's my second toe? As I draw it forward, does it feel like it's kind of tracking through the center ankle there? If there's no pain, then it probably is. If there's a little bit of pain in the joint of the ankle, maybe we need more support and come out of it just a little bit until that pain softens. Maybe we need to reposition the foot so that everything's tracking real evenly there. So I'm going to leave one of my legs in this plantar flexion, and then I'm going to work the other leg into its opposite, dorsiflexion. So if this is too intense down here, come out of the pose and go next to a wall or, you know, just something that's supported that has like 90 degrees here, so you can stretch your foot in the other direction. You can take your foot up onto that. Okay, so if you're sitting, lean off to the right and take your left foot forward. As you come back, center your weight evenly on your pelvis so you're not like too over to the right now. Okay, check out your right leg. Is it still in its plantar flexion? And if you've moved over to the wall, go ahead and start to take your left foot up the wall. So you're taking it into this stretch. If you're on the floor, start to draw your left heel as close towards the left buttocks and sitting bone as it'll go. You'll start to see that that makes the angle more acute between the top of your foot and your shin. Okay? So now we're stretching out through the back of the ankle on that foot, on that leg. And we're working on closing this space. And now this leg is our downward facing dog leg, for example. And so if our heels can't hit the floor in downward facing dog, sometimes that has nothing to do with a hamstring limitation or a calf limitation. Well, maybe we're a calf, but it could be the dorsiflex position. It could be this right here that's the limitation. Okay, lean forward and change your sides. So take your left leg back, come back, lean over to the left, unhook the right. Let me do it this way. So if you're at the wall, again, you just put your right foot up on the wall. You can lean into it a little bit. Okay, so right out of the gate, try to make yourself really even between your two legs. And then you hug your right foot into the left and the heel as far back to the buttocks as is possible. And now the buttocks has to kind of push forward into that space, right? Because if the buttocks goes back with it, then the pelvis is just kind of opening, and that's all we're getting there. So this is why I say make sure your legs are working evenly into your pelvis is working evenly between your legs. Awesome job. Lean on forward there. Come on up to a standing position. Ooh la la. We'll end standing today, but come on up to the back of the yoga mat where we have our very last mobility practice. So this is not so much about range of motion. This is more about stability. So the stabilizer muscles of the legs will strengthen as their balance is challenged. So take your left foot underneath your body, and to the best of your ability, bring your right foot in front of it. Now, if this is already too much in terms of balance, then just move your foot over a little bit, widen your center of gravity. Or I should say lower your center of gravity. So right out of the gate, you might notice that your feet are wobbling a little bit left to right. Now, the reason why they're doing this is because we have muscles in the foreleg that travel down and then stirrup the foot. And so what they're learning to do right here is to negotiate their job. What's my job? What's my job? What's my job? Just trying to figure that out every little moment. And now see, can you take more weight into your front foot and bring your back foot around and in front? So continuing to walk on this little tightrope. And it's here that we can begin to assess, how are we weighting our pose? Are we mostly in our back foot? Are we mostly in our front foot? And here I'll offer just a little bit of a kind of like a gliding, sliding action where we're transitioning a little bit more weight to the front foot and then a little bit more weight to the back. And we're trying to do this without really disturbing too much in the knees or too much in the hips or too much up along the body. And now see if you can take more weight into your front foot to bring your back foot around and forward. And this is how we're going to continue walking all the way up to the front of the yoga mat. So you may decide that this right here is enough. If you want to work on building a little bit more strength, then we're going to press down evenly through the ball mound of our foot left to right. We're going to start to lift our heels up over the ball mounds of the feet, which will challenge our balance a little bit. And again, we're going to see, can we take more weight into the front foot, and with control, pick our back foot up and step forward. How'd you do? It's always going to start with less control and then keep working at it. So taking weight into the front foot with control, picking the back foot up, ooh, and bringing it forward. Keeping our breath nice and low, nice and full, our face really relaxed. Let's just keep traveling each in our own time on the yoga mat until we make it all the way to the very top. And when you come all the way to the very top of the yoga mat up here, shake it out a little bit. Maybe stretch out the top of your feet. That's one that I always generally like to take. And with feet down on the floor in neutral, as best as you can gauge that, take a big inhale breath, press down with your feet, lift up through the arms, do the sideways. A big full breath in, stretch way up high so the lungs open. The side waist opens. Take another breath in. And on your breath out, release your arms. Thank you guys so much for joining for our foot mobility practice today. Come back here next week because what we're doing is we're going to do the standing postures, the foot placement for all of those. We're going to learn how to place our feet really well for warrior twos, warrior ones, high lunges, stuff like that. And of course, you can always head over to our Patreon account where you can support us and our ability to make these videos every week for you. For our Patreon members, we do members-only calls, Q&As, extra super duper resources for all of this stuff that we're doing in these videos. So thanks so much for joining and have a wonderful day. I'll see you here next week.